All right, this video is for how to do the raya. Raya is the hanging fringe. So you can stop wherever you're at in your weave and leave the string attached. You don't need to change or do anything differently to that. You can set that aside. Then what you need to do is you need to get new string that you want for your raya and decide how long you want your fringe to be. So you are the artist. You get to decide what that fringe length looks like. So here is an example of some really long raya fringe. And you can see how it's placed just right in the middle of the weave. So there's some weave in the middle of it and there's some weave underneath. Now when it's laying flat like this, you won't be able to see the weave underneath, but when it's hanging vertically, you'll be able to see it. So here it's about the length of a finger. So whatever length you decide, you're going to need to double it. So here is my finger length, about like that. I'm going to fold it at the end, and then I'm going to cut it. So although my raya length, I want to be the finger length, I need to double it. So here it is doubled, because we're going to fold it in half. So when I fold it in half, then it's the correct finger length. Now what I can do is I can cut more using the first one as my template. So I'm going to cut here, and then I'm going to cut some more. So cut as many as you want. My string is a little bit thicker, so you may have thinner string. If you have thinner string, you may want more raya. The example that I showed you was also very thick string. So the thicker the string, the less amount of raya you really need. So I'm going to go until I kind of run out of this string that I've got here. So it's not perfect. It's not an exact measurement, but I'm just kind of approximating. All right, so now I've got my raya fringe cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 at a time. If you have thin raya, you may want to do more than 2 strands together at a time. But what you're going to do is, again, leaving the string attached, you're going to pick a starting point and you're going to choose 2 warp strings, okay? And I'm going to place the raya fringe with the middle of my fringe laying over the 2 warp strings. Now I'm going to take my left tail of the warp string and I'm going to lift the left warp string and bring the raya underneath that warp string and up between the 2 warp strings that I've chosen. Okay, so again, I took the tails, the left tails, and went under the left warp string and up through the middle, and I just let it kind of hang there in the middle. Now I'm going to take the right tails, and I take the right tails and I go under the warp string into the middle, like I did with the left side. So now the right and the left tails have joined each other in the middle of the 2 warp strings I chose. Now I can give a tug and pull it down or slide it down. Okay, now your raya is going to be very loose right now. It can fall apart very easily. That's okay. We will, after we get all of the raya that we want done, then we'll come underneath and do a tabby weave to kind of sandwich it in nice and tight so it doesn't come loose. But for now, just tip the raya fringe over the center so it holds. Now I'm going to turn and I'm going to go to the next 2. So I'm going to grab 2 raya strips, place it in the middle of my next 2, take the left tail, go under the left warp string and up through the middle. Take the right raya strings and go under the right side and into the middle. So now I've got all of them in the middle again, and I'm going to pull, tug tight, and push it down. Leave it pulled over to the center. And then I'm going to keep doing this the next 2. So these 2. I'm going to go under the left and into the middle, and under the right and into the middle. Okay, so you're going to work your way around, all the way around, however much you want. You may just want to do on one side, and that's fine too. Then what you're going to do is, once you get the raya done, you're going to take your left string that's still attached, and you're going to start doing just a basic over-under weave. So now I'm going to do a basic over-under weave and go right around where the raya was. So that way I can kind of sandwich that in. I would say you're going to want at least 3 rotations, 3 circles around of the tabby weave. Oop, I pulled too tight there, so I kind of smushed my sumac there. Be careful on that. Make sure you don't pull too tight. So I'm gonna go around again. And again, this is just so that way we're kind of tightening it and making sure that the raya does not fall out. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's 2 times around. But you can already see with the 2 times around, now the raya is not going to come loose. And then what you can do while you're still working is just keep the raya towards the center, and then you can continue weaving out. Remember, we're weaving all the way till we have just a finger space left. And you can always add raya in other places also. Or you can wait and do raya at the end. If you wait to do raya at the end, again, just make sure you have a finger length space so that way you can add a little bit of tabby weave to sandwich it in.